Welcome to Grit Happens. I'm Mindy Stearns, and to know him is to love him. He's a CEO, a father, an entrepreneur, businessman, outlier, overcomer, underdog, and not always a dog. I'm talking about my husband, Glenn Stearns, and this is Grit Happens.
All right. Thank you. I just love that intro.
I know you
Can you
do.
make it a little longer next time, dear?
You wrote it very nice. Did you
I
want me
did.
to add anything?
Yes, I'm going to add a couple more next time.
Oh, you're so fun. You know, one of these episodes we're going to do a thing. We're just going to chat about our marriage and how incredible it is.
That would work. You know what? I think that would really appeal to a lot of people. They'd realize that they've got a much better marriage than they ever thought.
Oh, that's... Wait, what?
It's sweet.
Oh, is that I'm not
You think about that one.
That was very tricky. I'm very impressed with your play on words there.
Yes.
So you are an underdog house. Okay, I am very excited to introduce today one of...
I am very excited.
I know you are. I mean,
someone that I had a crush on
early
on.
And probably still do.
Oh, I
on
do.
Some level. Yes.
Not on some
That's
level, on
okay.
all levels.
I know. I have a crush on her too. She is an incredible, remarkable woman. And I mean, you literally have had to live under a rock in the mountains without any kind of media to not know who Jane Seymour is. She is an incredible friend. Let me just give her bio is so extensive and impressive. It could take the entirety of this podcast. So I'm going to highlight a couple of things that you just might, I mean, you know, the younger generation, this is so silly, knows her from Wedding Crashers, right?
I know, huh?
But she is, I mean, she
Over 100.
I'm over
films.
100 films, TVs, movies, miniseries, and long form series. Like this is a very distinctive title. The recipient of the Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, an OB, which was bestowed upon her by Queen Elizabeth
want one of
II
those.
at Buckingham Palace. That's my terrible British accent. But let's just talk. Multiple Emmy and
Emmys.
Golden Globe winner. She's been in she was a James Bond girl. She's a Bond girl.
Live and Let Die.
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. 6 seasons that
Sexy on that one.
and then one of your favorite movies, Somewhere in Time.
My
Your
favorite.
absolute, we love that movie. A Dancing with the Stars participant. She's been in many documentaries by her good friend Glenn Campbell, I'll Be Me. She's an artist. She is a philanthropist. She is a mother.
Open Hearts
She has
Foundation.
and Carepa Race, thank you for Carepa Race, Jane. I would like to, I mean, there's so much. I want to talk to her about this, and I want to get to Jane because she has such an incredible story.
And on top of that, she was a recipient this year until the coronavirus came with the Horatio Alger Association.
Of Distinguished Americans. Yes,
That's right.
we sponsored her because she has been such a good friend, and we feel like the
And
organization
has come from a lot of grit
Yeah.
as well. And that's what, again, we'll get through and we're going to dig in. But let's
So
introduce
please, ladies and
Jane.
gentlemen, we are about to make an episode of War and Remembrance because we could talk on and on for this woman who was part of that incredible series. Please welcome our friend Jane Seymour.
Hey!
Hey, hi everybody.
Hello,
Jane.
my gorgeous. Hello. So did you know my
How are
husband had
you?
such a massive crush on you?
Still?
No. Well, I don't know. There were sort of hints once in a while when we were all hanging together.
You did have your hand on her breast at one point. if I
Well,
might.
that was a reenactment of
Yeah, Wedding Crashers.
Wedding
Kitty cat.
Crashers.
Yeah, we were just reenacting that scene.
But I asked for 10 retakes. I don't know. So
You had to get it right. The angle wasn't
Yeah.
right. The lighting, whatever. But Jane. We came to know Jane when we were actually honored at Celebrity Fight Night in Arizona.
Muhammad
Jane was there
Ali.
attending, and we formed an instant kinship that night. There was it was great chemistry. We just were like-minded individuals, and a beautiful friendship developed.
Since
from
then, we've
that.
been all over the world together. You know?
Everywhere. We have had such experiences. You know, books could be written just about our experience.
That's right.
Together.
Lots of
I
fun.
know, and we've had your
Yes,
family.
I
and
mean,
your sisters.
knowing you guys has been the highlight of my life.
We've had
And
so
you
much
are
fun.
Amazing people, and
You've had one heck of a
Mindy,
life.
Your
too.
effusive energy is just enviable. You know, I thought I could be up and at it, but nothing like Mindy. She's on megawatts. And Glenn, you're just unstoppable. You're an extraordinary man. You make so many amazing things happen, and you both of you. You know, I think of you every day. I go, okay, I wonder what Glenn and Mindy are up to. Clearly,
Well,
they're
we've
pushing
had a
the
lot of
envelope
fun
somewhere.
together. You are
Well,
one
if
of our
anything happens
dearest
to me,
friends.
will you please take care of this guy? Because it's
Hey,
you have my blessing.
and I
Oh,
might.
thank you. Thank you.
I won't touch that one. But so
You already
Jane,
have.
yes, yes. So Jane,
I love her.
do you ever go back, way back, and think about your life and pinch yourself and just say, "Wow,
Oh.
how did I get here?"
Every day, every single waking minute of every day, I wake up, I look out of the window, I look at the ocean, I see the seabirds flying, the palm trees, and I go, wait a minute, I was not born to any of this. I was born in a very nice little 2-bedroom, semi-detached house in the not such nice part of Wimbledon. My father and mother had just met straight after the war. They'd both been married and had very bad marriages. And had both survived World War II. My mother in a camp for 3.5 years in Indonesia, Japanese camp. She's a Dutch native. And my father had actually been stationed in South Africa, but then was brought back by the Royal Air Force to open the gates of Bergen-Belsen, where he was looking for 6 of his cousins and near relatives, 3 of whom had perished and 3 of whom had survived, and 1 of whom killed herself after the war.
So he was Jewish, your dad, right? In the war.
It was, I didn't know that this was a tough life because, to be honest, my parents were so happy to be alive and to have found one another after the war, that our home was the place that everyone that, needed anything, a lot of single moms, a lot of, people who were divorced were unhappy, a lot of what my parents called grateful patients, because my father was a doctor and would treat people for free all the time. The house was always full of people, and my mother would just turn, a piece of meat for the family suddenly into enough rice dish for, 30 people. Wow. And we'd all get in this tiny little backyard and wherever we were. I mean, she always spread the food, Right. After being starved for 3.5 years, it was always about the food. And my sisters and I, we're the same way. And she wouldn't talk about the war at all. Although what happened was we were given rail passes to go around Holland. And this was pretty exciting. We'd go to different families. And the one thing they all had in common was all their mothers had been in the camps with my mother. And they'd made a pact when they survived that if they ever had children, that their homes would be open to one another's children. So we had this sort of other family of, first generation survivors. And they didn't know much about their parents either, about, what had really happened. But we all kind of bonded. And what we all had in was this kind of desire to share everything that we had, no matter what. And that's what we did. Our homes were open to one another.
Wow. You've continued that through your whole life.
To this day.
Are you doing that through your philanthropy, through everything that you do?
Oh, well, yes. Well, so Glenn, you're right about that. So from a very early age, my mother was, her charity was child abuse in England, the NSPCC. And so we used to help support her. And my father, of course, was, working in a hospital. So we used to work in the hospital 3 weekends out of every 4, because that's when my father had to work, and we would be auxiliary nurses and help out before they had machines to roll cotton balls and, swabs and stuff. So I've always been volunteering. I was a member of the Red Cross, my sisters, and giving back was just a natural in our family. Was never even thought of as charity. It was just a normal way of living. And my mother later on in life gave me this amazing piece of wisdom. She said, darling, in life, everyone will have challenges. Everyone. No one gets out alive. And when it happens, she said, your natural instinct will be to close off your heart and not let anyone know what's going on, what's really happening. She said, if you do that, it'll stay in your psyche and it'll eat you alive. It'll be like an LP record with the scratches. Right. You just go over and over and over, and you will always be the victim, and you can't get out of it, and it'll all be about you. She said, however, if you can accept that this has happened, however difficult, open your heart and your mind and reach out to help someone else, you will have purpose. And if you're able to help someone because you've uniquely been through that situation or something similar, or you're just listening, or you can do, the grand gesture of raising a lot of money, making a big difference, communicating about it, whatever it is you can do. She said, when you have purpose, she said, it heals you. And when you are healed, she said, you will find happiness in your life. And she's so right. And I've lived by that.
And that's how you founded the Open Heart Foundation, was from your mom, was your inspiration.
So Open Hearts Foundation came from that very simple image that I made. I think I drew one here. This is what I call the family. These are open hearts that connect.
Look at that.
That's a single open heart. This is an open heart that connects to another, that connects to another. It could be the father, the mother, the child, or the pet, or whatever you want it to be. But it's how the world connects when it opens its heart. And so then we started a foundation. Of course, people know about jewelry. I've got one on right now. I call this the wave. And the wave is really important to me, especially right now. It's never been more pertinent than right now, because we're talking about where we came from and what the grit that we've been through, but I've always felt that you don't choose who your parents or your circumstances are, but it's like you're in a body of water going in a general direction, and the woohoo moment where you achieve something or fall in love or first kiss or win the prize or make the team, whatever it is that. And then, of course, it comes down. And a lot of people just go, oh, I'm never going there again. That was, too big a high and too big a low, and it's just not for me. But if you think of a wave, the wave, as it comes down, doesn't go straight down, crash, and stay there. It's a body of water that goes in a circle. It skims the bottom. It hurts. It comes back up. Its momentum continues. And if your mind and your heart are open, you can connect with new relationships, new ways of being in life, new attitudes, new opportunities, and you create the next wave. So the wave to me is how you ride the wave of life.
That's very powerful.
Now here we're talking about the wave, the second wave, the pandemic. What we're all learning now is that life is never static.
Right.
Life is constantly on the move, and that by living with and accepting the wave and riding the wave and doing what you can do to make a difference while you're doing that and finding the positive in it, that's really our message. And so I wrote a book about it a while ago, and now I'm actually making face masks, because I think that's going to be the fashion staple
that will
future,
for a while,
no matter what.
Trust me.
With the open heart wave, and underneath it will say ride the wave, and all the proceeds, all the profits are going to go to COVID charities.
Oh, that's awesome.
So wonderful,
you say
Jane.
something about the about people and having an open heart. And what I find is that, whether it's in business or it's just in life, when we approach people, it can be a gas station attendant, it can be, your best friend, it doesn't matter who, and we get a reaction we don't like sometimes. Then we take it personal, and we attack back, or we do what we do. Instead of maybe with this open heart and with this open mind, we realize, wonder what's going on in their life right now. What gets them to this point? And we have to approach life, I think, with empathy and with looking at it and saying, what's going on that is making this person have this bad day or whatever. And then that way, if we don't close our minds or close our hearts, then we allow those people a second chance. We allow them to understand maybe there's something that's really, deep inside of them that's been hurting, whether it's for that moment or for, years, who knows, right? But we get them to get more involved, and we end up having more acceptance and more people that we can put into our lives that bring us more, more joy and more positive things out of it by allowing those people in. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think, one of the great things I was told a long time ago, and I have to practice it every day, it's not easy, is never react, only respond.
I like that.
Right.
And I think that sort of in a nutshell is what you're talking about, Glenn. So, something can hurt you, or you just take offense at it, or it's not what you expect. A lot of times we have expectations of how people should react or respond to something. And then they don't, or they, can be passive aggressive or whatever it is. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that things happen. But I am not a very patient person. So I have to tell myself every day, do not react, wait, give it the, overnight test and respond, and do exactly what you're saying, Glenn, which is think about, I wonder what life is like in their shoes right now.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
one of the most amazing things, I don't know about you, that has been happening now is when I, stumble across a photograph in my iPhone somewhere randomly, or an actual photograph from back in the day, and I go, wow, I remember this person this time, and I pick up the phone, I send it to them, and then like yesterday I had the most amazing 2.5-hour conversation with the widow of John Barry, the composer, who was one of my closest friends, and she's godmother to my kids, and we had this amazing experience of talking. And then Johnny, my son, who's a musician, came into the conversation, and here was Laurie telling him all about how John Barry composed, and and I just thought, wow, we would never have had time to have that connection.
Right. Wow. So speaking of Johnny, he was named after another famous Johnny, wasn't he? Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
That's right.
Yes.
So
He was.
I got a question for you about, when people look at social media, and we've had this experience with us where then they say, kind of that screw you and your perfect life, look at all these positive things. And the reality is nobody's life is perfect. And a lot of social media is made to show your best side, right? You are a celebrity. You have had amazing success in films and television and art and just about everything you've touched. And so people see the perfect life of Jane Seymour. It wasn't always perfect. And you've had, you were inducted into the Horatio Alger this year. Of course, they didn't have the ceremony, but that is one of the most, talk about her induction.
I would say that's the closest thing to becoming
knighted
knighted in America, if you will.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a huge honor, and I have you to thank enormously, Glenn, for introducing me to the organization, and and the people there. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's a major, major honor. There are so many extraordinary kids who literally fight the good fight to have an education, and against all odds. I mean, I've met these kids, and you just go, "Wow, how did they even survive to tell this story? Let alone
and they're
get the
so
credentials
young.
they got." And you kind of look to them, and you go, "These are the world leaders. This is
That's
who
right.
I want to run this country."
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
But yes, you were saying, things have.
But I was saying things weren't in your life perfect. And
And
so
when you
that's
talk
how you
about-
got to become a Horatio Alger yourself.
You were a young girl when you had your injury. You were going to be a great dancer. That
Well,
was
I don't know how great a dancer I was going to be, but I was going to be a dancer. And
But that's
my parents didn't have the money to train me. And I got, scholarships. And I, at the age of 15, started my own company selling clothing that I created and sold in a market in London to pay for the point shoes that, so I could dance with the Kirov Ballet at Covent Garden, yada, yada. It's a long, long story. But I actually wrote a book called Remarkable Changes, because every time something bad happened, like having an injury, which meant I could never dance again, and that was my life, was dancing, it turned into the opportunity whereby I became an actress instead. Now I am so grateful, because, the life of a dancer is very short and very, very hard. And, unless you're built exactly right, even then it's, almost impossible. The dancer still lives within me,
Right.
but I had the opportunity to become an actress, and becoming an actress is really hard. I'm the one in trillion, and, who's had the opportunities that I've had. And, I took chances all the time. I never thought of them as chances. I came to America with no agent, no work permit, no money, nothing. I mean, just a visitor's visa. And within 6 weeks, managed to land a job that got me a temporary visa, and eventually became a citizen, and all of that. I've been married, sadly, 4 times. First time I was way too young, and we're still close friends, and it was never a real marriage.
So that was with the gentleman that his father was.
His father discovered me. Yeah.
Discovered you, exactly.
Right. And actually, I was so grateful to have had time with
Attenborough.
that family, extraordinary family. David Attenborough, as you know, is his uncle. Richard Attenborough is Michael's father. Richard Attenborough is one of the greatest directors and fantastic actor and producer, and a real mentor for me. And in fact, one of his words of wisdom when I was starting, long before anyone knew who I was he said, "The day you believe in your own publicity, you're dead."
Oh, wow.
Hey.
It's a good one.
That's
And
a
the
good
other
one
thing
for
is
the
he
people
said-
nowadays.
He said, you were born with a fine instrument. He said, now you have to learn to fine tune it.
Hey, stay humble. Yep.
Stay very humble. And I do, and I think of him all the time. Yes, so, you know, and David Ashby, of course, does all those amazing natural wildlife,
Right.
you know, the planet. I mean, he's one of the most
yes.
extraordinary documentary makers about
That's
the
great.
planet.
His
and,
voice is
an amazing
synonymous
guy.
with.
But then I married, again, after that, to a lovely man called Jeffrey Planer, who is still probably my closest friend on the planet. He encouraged me to come to America. He couldn't do it here. It just was not for him. All of a sudden I had, you know, success here, and I couldn't leave and go back to, you know, basically quitting acting. And so that ended. So I don't really count those two as marriages. But then I married two men that I had children with. And the first one, I thought the safest thing is to marry your accountant.
No.
Left you dead broke, I believe, right?
Not a good move.
Maybe
no.
in the beginning
I mean,
it works,
he was
but in the
very
end,
successful in his own right. But you know, when it came to our money, he got me to personally sign loans. You know about this, Glenn. And you know, he borrowed and had me sign, and I ended up, you know, 9 million in the red with lawsuits from every major bank, including the FDIC.
Gosh.
And I have a confession: I'm yet to pass basic math. So this was not good. If I see a document with any legal document or anything to do with math or anything on it at all, I actually come out in hives. It's like, please just tell me I'm safe. Tell me I'm doing the right thing. I just can't throw my head in that world. And so, of course, I got stung very badly. But I did lose my house. I did lose everything, more than everything. And emotionally, I lost everything because, you know, there was an enormous amount of betrayal as well, personal betrayal. And, you know, as you say, true grit, you know, when you wake up in the morning and all you want to do is die because you don't know how to handle anything and you're now going to be homeless and you have these children and you don't know what to do. I called my agent and I said, I will do anything. And at that time I was very successful, and he said, anything. And I said, literally anything, but I have to work yesterday. So he called all the you know, agencies and networks, and they said anything. And they found this little movie for me to do, which they were absolutely convinced would be a one-off, but I had to sign for 5 years just in case it became a series, which they never intended it to be. And that was Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
So that's
you
what
have
you
to
do
look
anything.
at the fact that if I hadn't been put into such a terrible situation that I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids or put a roof over my head, I would never have gotten Dr. Quinn.
Wow.
Or have
That
done
went
it,
for
because I never wanted
6
to do a
years. That
series.
went 6
And-
seasons.
And at the same time, before that happened, you know, per my mother's wisdom, I was at a book signing for a child abuse organization I worked with called Child Help. And one of the silent auction items was a drawing or painting by an artist called Tom Mielko. And I put my last money down for that. And the guy came to the house, saw these finger paintings I'd done in my children's playroom, and said, who did these? And I said, I did. And he said, they're really good. And I said, they're finger painting with paper and paints. And he said, no, they're really good. He said, are you trained? I said, not really, only high school stuff. And he said, well, I'll give you some lessons. So I had to confess that I was about to lose the house and I definitely couldn't pay it or anything. And he said, oh, well, I've got a couple of free days. I'm going to teach you watercolor and you can take it with you for the rest of your life. And so that's how I started painting.
Wow.
It was
Now
a gift.
you have beautiful
So-
watercolors, which you've also inspired some of your clothing
But
line,
also-
and scarves and
I want
clothing.
to, before we go onto more of that, I want to talk about why I think this is one reason why we're very close friends, Jane, because, you know, you're not only, see, a lot of people, whether they're in business, whether they're acting, whether they're whatever, they are afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid. They need to show people that their success. They need to show people that they are winners, so to speak. But they're afraid
Everything's perfect.
that everything is perfect, and they're afraid to let others into their lives of what you just explained, right? But what you explained is real life to everybody. Okay, it's everybody. You said this. No one gets out of this place, you know, alive, and nobody is perfect. And so, you know, you and thank you for this, but by showing people your vulnerability and the things that don't go right. Okay, you were married 4 times, and and were bankrupt, and a lot of other things. Everybody goes through issues, right? And so if you were to go and Google you and everything about you, it's people who go, "Oh, she got a perfect life." But no one has a perfect life, and that's
No.
just so. When you're at home and you're saying, "I wish I was an actress, then it would be perfect. Everyone would kiss my butt, and I would live in a great home," But you don't understand all the other stuff that goes on when the door closes and the camera's off and blah blah blah, right? And it's normal. So if you're sitting at home, you go, maybe I need to forget about feeling sorry for myself anymore and realize that my situation, I'm not going to get out of this unless I get out of this.
Unless you give into it.
Right.
You don't get out unless you give in.
That's right.
Well, the other thing is that obviously I literally pinch myself every day, and I come from a place of gratitude. But I remember, because of my mom, I think in the war, she always used to grow produce. So at the back of my garden, on what was sort of kind of nothing land, not land you could walk on, or even though it was there, it was like a big gully. We turned it into an amazing vegetable and fruit garden. So, and now we've got chickens and eggs and the rest of it. So I'm creating produce every single day, which we're giving to homeless people who have been rescued and are in sort of a in-between area. So there are these organizations where they will accept and want the food that I'm providing, and it's going to really good people who really need it. So that makes me excited. And every day I try and think of something I can do to help people. I try to uplift people's spirits with our Young Hearts program. We did a volunteer thing online, which was so much fun, with mothers and kids and people from all over the world participated. We all created art together, kind of like a party. And then we sent the cards to old people who are stuck in old people's homes, mostly in Texas. Every day there is something that I end up doing. And every time I do it, at the end of the day, other people are saying, "Oh, I'm just watching Netflix," or "I'm just, drinking too much," or "I'm, pacing around my apartment." I'm just thinking, no, I found something to do that put a smile on someone's face or helped somehow. And I'm just determined to keep doing that. And Glenn, health-wise, I've had 3 major challenges, which are, if people look me up, I actually died once from anaphylactic shock.
I remember that.
And was resuscitated just at the last moment. This happened a long time ago in Spain, in Madrid of all places. And it started out with a bronchitis, with a virus, with an influenza. And I remember that changed my whole life, because I remember I left my body. I could see what it was like to die. And then I could see the panic I had afterwards of how important life was to me, and how afraid I was to close my eyes in case I could leave my body again, and things like that. And but it gave me an amazing sense of what mattered in my life. And I let go of everybody and anything that was manipulative and evil and awful and unnecessary, and decided to spend time with a smaller group of people that I actually had enormous respect for and wanted to be with.
Your balcony people.
That's right. We have a kind of a saying here about a mantra of hanging with your
basement
people
and
or balcony people. So let go of your basement people.
The basement people want to pull you down into the dark recesses of sadness, and the balcony want to elevate you and pull you up and celebrate you.
And I think
it is interesting how some people just gravitate to gloom and doom.
That's right.
Some people, all they want to talk about is how terrible everything is. And then they look at me like I'm some sort of idiot, because I find optimism in things.
But that's why I think this show is to really even to touch. I hope those people that have thought of their lives as having a dark cloud, when really that cloud maybe happens to be in their minds, and then it just carries with them wherever they go, and they've got to realize it's only up to them to get out of their own way. And you go back to what you talk about having this fortunate life, and that saying, much is given, much is required. And, you have been the ultimate, giver of that, right? Where, again, is it luck that you keep getting all these great jobs? Is it? No, it's not luck. You create your own luck, right? When you work, when you give back, when you feel that you deserve what comes to you in a positive way, then you open the universe to what you accept, and that is either the beauty and the wonderful things that come your way, or the dark clouds if you say you're not worthy. And you're a great example of how you open up yourself and allow positive things to come into your life.
You walk the open heart mantra better than anyone. I mean,
well, I've been having a lot of fun recently because I have a little sound booth here. I'm not in it right now, obviously. And Johnny, of course, is getting quite handy with the recording because he's recording for himself as well. I was just invited to do a voiceover for CNN about the virus and about the wildlife, animal trafficking and all of that. I've been working with this amazing guy called Stephen Galster, and what a privilege to be asked to voice that. I've been doing something just recently. It's going to come out where, again, Johnny helped me, but he actually created some music for it, where Texas Ballet are trying to raise money for the dancers. You can imagine the dancers are not getting anything, and they don't even have the space to perform or to practice or to do what they need to do. And so I did a sort of recitation. Johnny put some music to it, and it's really what I always challenge people. I did this thing called the Open Hearted Challenge, we're still doing, is I'm challenging everyone to see what they can do that's open-hearted to make a difference for somebody. And my friend Liv in Newton-John was one of the first to, pony up and give us her little video. And she just said, I pick up the phone and I speak to people I know who are probably in a lot of pain or in, struggling. And I just find time to talk to them.
That's neat.
And that's, the mantra, like you said, open hearts and open minds. There are things you can do. And, so I just...
Speaking of your heart,
it makes people happy, and people do not want to be around the gloom and doomers.
Yeah. No. So I want to for a second. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want to just behind the scenes something that I find fascinating. Again, we know your life pretty well. We were very fortunate to be able to go to an event with you last year. It was I think the 40th year of your movie, Somewhere in Time.
Oh, Somewhere in Time.
And so we were in Saginaw, not Saginaw.
No, Mackinac
Island.
That was incredible.
And so Jane,
if you haven't seen Somewhere in Time,
oh please, people go get that
Christopher
movie.
Reeve at his best, and there's a great love story behind there.
That's
too.
what I was going to get to.
I won't talk about. I'm just saying, go. I'm just encouraging people.
No, but I want to talk about when we went there with her last year for a second.
We had the opportunity to go join the annual gathering of the Somewhere in Time. There's a group that has been coming for 30 years. The film has been out for 40 years. No, for 40 years the film's been out. For 30 years they've been doing this actual gathering, and everyone is dressed in period clothing. I feel like they all stepped right off the Titanic, and they're all walking through the lobby. There's beautiful ways to commemorate the film and go act it out and be in the scenery, and it was so fun to be there with you because it has we
got to be a fly on the wall with Jane.
Die-hard following.
Oh, that was so fun.
And it was so much fun because my kids came as well, and
they look
Chris,
so dapper.
We've
got some pictures
who's actually the godson of Christopher Reeve, was wearing the actual waistcoat that the penny comes out of that Chris Reeve had given me at the end of the film, and my grandchild Willa was there, and my daughter, and we all got dressed up, and it was amazing.
That was fun.
We really got to do that. But what I wanted to know if you is the making of that movie, is that one of your highlights? And is there anything fun that happened on that movie that we don't know about?
Well, I was so excited about doing it, and apparently Christopher Reeve had picked me over various other people. Apparently Bo Derek was also up for the role.
Oh.
And when I came out there, I got the dreaded, flu or whatever, and so I was sick, and so before I started working, I was not looking my best, and Chris Reeve, who I didn't really know, came to my room and dropped off some books, and by the time I got to do the first scene with him, which is where he sees me the first time, there was such a build up to it by the tree, and I was so nervous that instead of saying, "Is it you? Is it?" it came out, is a Jew.
It's a Jew.
I'm serious. It really did. I had to revoice it. Is a Jew.
It's a Jew. It's a Jew.
And no, it's not a Jew.
Well, you guys.
Anyway, we used to sneak off because there were no cars or anything allowed on the island. And we had these little bicycles. And Chris Reeve and I fell madly in love while we were making the movie, but very secretively. You know, we were both single at the time, but we just didn't want the world to know. And we would cycle at like 5 a.m. It was still dark, to the airstrip and get on his Beechcraft Bonanza. I think it was a 2-engine or 1-engine, a tiny little thing. Of course, insurance-wise, we weren't allowed to go anywhere near this thing, but we did.
Of course.
And we would fly, and we would go to Toronto, and we put, hats and glasses on to pretend we weren't ourselves. And lo and behold, the first person to get recognized was not Superman, it was me.
Oh.
And I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, no. And then it was really funny because then Chris just thought, to hell with that. I'm taking my glasses off. I'm going to get recognized soon.
Well, he remained a dear friend, huh?
We used to have a lot of fun. He would take me sailing as well. And then we remained very close friends for the rest of his life, especially after the accident. And we'd have very long conversations about life and what it was like to be as incapacitated as he was. And he was very much an inspiration for me to do the Open Heart Foundation, because I just thought a man who's on a respirator who, needs 2 people 24/7 just to make sure his bodily functions are functioning, is changing the world and making such a big difference by communicating about the need for the science to find a cure for spinal injuries, and also stem cells. I mean, that was long before anyone would actually acknowledge that was, a good thing. So he was an amazing man.
Well, you are an amazing woman, and we have had so much. the time flies. We could keep you all day. I would love to keep you all day. And
you've got to do this for me, because I painted this and I'm raising money for COVID charities. But I know you have the soundtrack.
I'm here to give you any kind of rooster call.
Jane Seymour.
What a great!
Hey,
you
so
painted that.
you are such a wonderful artist. Now, I have a few of your paintings because you did those with Glenn Campbell, and we got those at a charity that I think it might have been your Open Hearts charity, if I remember.
Right.
And we ended up getting those, but yes, we have some of your paintings. So that's going. You're saying that painting and others are going to be going out.
And that's going to be about 30 or 40 of them.
From Bank of America.
I've been painting a lot
beautiful.
of lilies.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so where can people auction
This
them?
is a little tiny one, but I've got really big ones as well. And we're putting that together. So if you check out my Instagram, Jane Seymour, we will let everybody know everything that's happening. But there's a lot of exciting things happening. And I decided that painting was giving me sanity during these very difficult times. And then I was painting with, people who had ALS. This wonderful woman called Jeannie. I got her painting. She's literally on a respirator, and she has started painting and paints every day.
That's
because
beautiful.
of a lesson that I did with her over the internet. So I'm just so empowered by it that I just thought, these paintings should be sold to make a difference for those that have lost jobs, have lost homes, that have lost hope, that need help. There's so many people, this thing is never going to be over. I mean, if anything, it has highlighted for all of us the discrepancy between the haves and have-nots. And hopefully everyone will ask themselves, what can I do to make a difference?
Yeah. One time we had, remember our dear friend Donna Porter was in the hospital and she's passed. But we were with Jane and someone had called me, and next thing you know, they said, Jane was just in with Donna, and you didn't know we knew each other, and it was really weird. But you go around to these hospitals, and I mean, you're everywhere, Jane. It really is amazing.
Jane, you are you are very deserving of the officer of the most excellent order of the British Empire and of the global empire and
many others,
and the empire of keeping an open heart. And you've always shared yours with us. We are so grateful for the time you gave us today, all that you're doing. People can follow you on Jane Seymour on your Instagram, and there's all the information about there's so many things you're involved with, and it's all there. So
Open Hearts Foundation and Young Hearts. We're now putting together a volunteer app, which is very exciting. We've got so much going on, and we don't really have enough time to tell you about all of it. But like you said,
to have you
Mindy and Glenn,
back.
thank you for this opportunity. And
That's right.
check out my website or my Instagram, and you'll be able to see, what we're up to.
Well, we'll put all that information up for our listeners and our viewers. So, Jane, Miss Lady Jane, thank you for joining us today. We have loved the time with you. We look forward to sitting down and sharing more love and laughs and some more open heart stories together.
That's
so
right.
This,
look forward to seeing you. And say hi to that lovely family of yours, those beautiful sisters. We had such a
we
great
loved your
time.
sisters. I love your family.
Oh my gosh, how generous of you to let them come on that boat trip. I mean, they will never forget it ever.
That was that was so fun.
Right before
Magic.
COVID hit. We were on a trip together, and then bam, the world
They all come out in the
shut
same
down.
outfits, sexy little vixens.
Oh, I've got a
and-
picture of that.
Oh, that
That's
was so
cute.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, what about Donald playing the piano, playing songs he'd never even heard?
Oh my goodness, he
those are
is
He's good,
well,
isn't he?
good.
We'll have,
He's a
we'll
professional.
have to do a retake, whether it's on land or
Land
or
sea.
the ocean.
That's right.
Well, the ever talented Jane Seymour. Thank you again
Thank
for being
you,
here. You've been
Jane.
listening to Grit
We love
Happens
you.
Love you guys.
with
Love
Glenn
you.
Stearns. You can follow us also on all the podcast outlets, Apple, Spotify,
That's
Stitcher, and many
right.
others.
Facebook,
and,
Glenn Stearns at what's that? YouTube, Instagram.
New episodes launch every Wednesday at
Wednesday.
2 p.m. Pacific on Glenn Stearns Facebook. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been Grit Happens.
Thanks again. We love you.